bad for business. The tourism industry pours cold water on the easing of COVID rules for tourists. A French delegation arrives in Taiwan, the fourth in 12 months. But just how strong are Taipei's ties with Paris really? Police arrest a 73-year-old over the murder and dismemberment of a man in his home in New Taipei City. And it's nearly Mid-Autumn Festival, and mooncakes are in demand. We go to one bakery where people are queuing for hours for the special desserts. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. Tour companies say the latest rules easing restrictions on travellers entering Taiwan aren't enough to help revive their flagging industry. From September, tourists from the US, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, Europe and diplomatic allies can enter the country visa-free, but they must still quarantine and take saliva tests. John Van Trieste reports.
Taiwan is starting to come out of its COVID isolation. After more than 2 years, tourists from a range of countries will be let back in visa-free. But Taiwan's travel agents have doubts about how much this will do to boost business.
来台旅客的人数是不会有太多的帮助，是因为只要是有隔离的话，观光客就不会选择来台湾，因为现在有非常多的国家入境都是不用隔离的。
Also of concern, the list of visa-exempt nationalities. The countries on the list are largely Western. These countries only accounted for around 10% of visitors in 2019. Bigger markets like Japan are not on the list. And then there's the fact that the policy excludes tour groups.
团体的活动都是所谓的时数游购的部分，它是一起的。那在这样的经济效益上来讲，其实对旅行社来讲，整个的包装起来能够让所谓的经济效益能够达到更好。
The government's tourism bureau is eager to open Taiwan up. But it says expert advice must take precedence.
我们当然是希望赶快开啊！如果这样讲的话，我们都会一直提供说相关的讯息给这个中心去参考，因为最后决策还是他们嘛。我们都当然是尽量配合啊。
Which means the tourism industry's recovery may not be as quick as some had hoped. Chris Ma and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The Taiwan city government has rejected a claim for state compensation over the death of a toddler with COVID who had to wait more than an hour for an ambulance. The toddler's father, identified as Mr. Lin, filed a claim with the new Taipei city government for a symbolic $1 Taiwan or 3 US cents. He said the slow response of emergency services led to the death of his 2-year-old who had severe COVID symptoms. But New Taipei's legal department found responders had not been negligent. The boy, nicknamed An, fell into a coma at home in mid-April. His family waited 81 minutes for an ambulance. He died in hospital 5 days later. A delegation of French lawmakers has arrived in Taiwan for a 6-day visit. The group includes the Vice President of the Foreign Affairs, Defence and Armed Forces Committee and other senators from across the political spectrum. They are scheduled to meet with Vice President Lai Ching-te, Legislative Speaker You Xu-kun and other senior government officials. On the agenda is Indo-Pacific security, technology and innovation, and supply chain security. The delegation is the fourth group of French lawmakers to visit Taiwan in the past 12 months and the first European parliamentary delegation since US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit last month. For more on what this delegation means for ties between Taiwan and France, our reporter Ryan Ho-Kilpatrick spoke with Marcin Jewski, head of the Taiwan office of the European Values Centre for Security Policy.
This is the fourth parliamentary delegation from France to Taiwan within the past 12 months. How significant do you think this one is particularly?
This delegation is significant for two main reasons. Firstly, this is the first European parliamentary delegation that is coming to Taiwan after the controversial visit of Nancy Pelosi. This is sending an important message that engagement with Taiwan is not only something that Americans do, and it is sending a strong signal that European countries also have an interest in fostering people-to-people ties with Taiwan, also in the form of parliamentary diplomacy. The second reason why I find this delegation significant is that it is essentially an exercise in norm building. The consistency, the regularity with which members of the French Senate and the National Assembly are visiting Taiwan to engage with high-level figures here is sending a message that it is normal to engage with Taiwan in such a way.
Despite rather lively parliamentary exchanges between Taiwan and France, national level support from Paris has not been so staunch. Do you view that changing at all in the future?
Exchanges between legislatures, so parliamentary diplomacy, are generally easier to navigate, and Taiwan has made good use of parliamentary diplomacy as a tool of expanding its international space amid its difficult international status. However, even though the support from the executive branch in France has perhaps not been as explicit as in the case of the legislative branch, we should still remember that France is one of the most important countries when it comes to shaping the European strategy for engagement with the Indo-Pacific. France still has its own territories in the region. So by putting Taiwan on the legislative agenda, I believe that we might also see some spillover effects into broader policy-making landscape. By engaging with Taiwan and engaging Taiwan in discussions about the French Indo-Pacific strategy, we perhaps might see some positive developments which are not always at the very forefront of the debate, or which might even be concealed from the public eye.
Taiwan's top government oversight agency has impeached 3 former officials over a deadly train accident. The Control Yuan has censured former Deputy Transportation Minister Qi Wenzong and 2 former Railways and Public Works officials for their part in the 2021 Taroko Express crash. 49 people were killed and over 200 were injured when a train ran into a construction vehicle on the tracks in eastern Hualien County. The Control Yuan says the 3 failed to carry out their responsibility to enforce safety standards, which ultimately led to the accident. The case is now being handed to the government disciplinary court. The night sky over Taiwan's southern Pingdong County lit up with orange flares last night as the military continued live fire drills. The drills are held 6 times a year. They are the country's second largest exercise. This round of drills is scheduled to last until Friday. Earlier in the day, President Tsai Ing-wen met with Air Force personnel in the eastern county of Hualien. She highlighted the significance of Taiwan's defense preparations as the country faces an increased Chinese drone incursions and military activity.
除了攻击共建频繁侵扰之外，利用假讯息企图影响国内民心的认知作战，以及运用无人机侵扰的灰色领域地带的手段，层出不穷。
US intelligence has claimed that Russia is buying millions of rockets and ammunition from North Korea. The Pentagon says that the newly declassified information shows how severe global sanctions have restricted Russia's options for military supplies as its war in Ukraine enters its 7th month.
Russia has approached North Korea to request ammunition. I'm not able to provide any more detail than that at this point in time, but it does demonstrate and is indicative of the situation that Russia finds itself in terms of its logistics and sustainment capabilities as it relates to Ukraine.
A suspect is in custody over a grisly killing in New Taipei City. Police have arrested the brother of a man found cut to pieces in an apartment earlier this week. Ed Moon has more.
A family dispute over money turned deadly. Police have arrested a suspect for the killing and dismemberment of a man in northern Taiwan's New Taipei City. The body was discovered cut into pieces with the head missing. Officers now have the 73-year-old victim's older brother in custody.
本案研判疑似兄弟因为长期有借贷关系那因为其弟弟也就是死者每次借钱都不还，造成他哥哥心怀怨恨。那这是初步研判的动机，那还需要专案人员深入追查厘清。
Police say the victim was stabbed to death in his sleep and believe the missing pieces were dumped in a garbage truck. They have found video evidence of the suspect buying 2 knives and found several more in the apartment. Whether these were used in the killing is still being investigated. The suspect is being charged with multiple crimes, including murder, abandoning the body, and damaging the corpse. Patrick Chen, Eric Gao, and Ed Moon for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan has announced the slogan and logo for this year's National Day celebrations. As usual, they have triggered a nationwide discussion online. Yu Jinghuang reports.
National Day falls on October 10th in Taiwan. Each year, the government unveils a theme and logo to go with the festivities. This year's theme, just announced, is Defending the Nation Together. This focus on military matters is a departure from the past few years, which have emphasized democracy and pride.
那我们在今年上面也考虑到整个国际社会的一个态样跟台湾所处的环境，所以我们会综合在这里面来呈现。
The color scheme for this year's logo is also a sign of the times. An image circulating online shows how the designs have changed since 2016, when the Democratic Progressive Party took power. There's also controversy over the choice by the organizers to use the term Taiwan National Day, when the country's official name is the Republic of China. The opposition Kuomintang says the government is using the design to push Taiwan independence. But many people online say the design is one of the most attractive in recent years. And designers say that the concept for this year's logo is Taiwan's land.
多元的颜色，然后去代表着就是我们的山川，然后还有我们的水文，还有我们的整个国土的一个样貌，表现出大家一起去往一个地方前进，达到一个共同目标。
概念上就是我们那时候有凝聚的概念，如果把它拆开是2个箭头往中间集中的那个概念在里面。
The celebrations are open to all, regardless of political affiliation. There will be 10,000 seats at the ceremony, up from 6,000 last year, part of a relaxation of COVID rules. There will also be a special performance by a Japanese high school band, marking 50 years since unofficial ties between Taiwan and Japan were formalized. Dignitaries aside, it's not yet clear who will be allowed to be in the audience for the ceremony. But one possibility is that a committee will hold an online drawing for seats. Damon Ling and Yu Junhuang for TaiwanPlus.
Stay with us here on TaiwanPlus. It's a stargazer's delight. Matsu's Daqiu Island pulls out all the stops to become officially recognized as a dark sky park. Details after the break.
A beautiful yellowfin tuna. 我放下来太重了。没吃过猪肉，才看到猪找路啊。Very nice. OK， 好。
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Chinese media says Monday's magnitude 6.8 earthquake in Sichuan province has killed at least 66 people. As relief efforts continue, Taiwan's government has put a rescue team on standby. It says the country is ready to help. Stash Butler reports.
Search and rescue teams in Sichuan pull a woman from the rubble of a toppled building. An earthquake in southwestern China has left at least 66 people dead. And 2 days after it struck, time is running out to find more survivors.
坚持人民至上，生命至上，紧盯救援黄金时间，尽全力保护人民群众生命财产安全。
But many parts of Sichuan are under COVID lockdown, and videos appear to show at least some people were locked inside potentially damaged buildings. Taiwan's top officials have offered their condolences to the victims. They say Taiwan is ready to help. Altogether, authorities have put almost 150 personnel and several tons of equipment on standby. And it wouldn't be the first time Taiwan has offered support. When an even bigger earthquake in Sichuan killed 68,000 people in 2008, Taiwan sent at least 3 rescue teams to help. But the Taiwan Red Cross says China appears to have the damage from this quake under control, so it's unlikely Beijing will ask for aid. Whoever the rescuers may be, the families of people injured and missing in Sichuan are praying they can finish the job before it's too late. James Rayner and Stash Butler for TaiwanPlus.
Japan on Monday said the state funeral for assassinated former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe will cost $12 million. Tokyo said that money would cover costs for security and receiving foreign dignitaries. But as James Chater explains, the hefty price tag is expected to fuel more opposition within Japan to an already controversial service.
The gunshot that shocked a nation. Now, dividing Japan, a decision to hold a state funeral for slain former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Abe was Japan's longest-serving Prime Minister. Despite stepping down in 2020, he remained an influential political figure in the region. He was campaigning for the Liberal Democratic Party, or LDP, in July when he was shot dead. This will be the first state funeral held for a Japanese Prime Minister in more than half a century. But the $12 million price tag and Abe's contentious legacy is stoking opposition.
今日本の中でも結構食べられない人とかお子さん小さいご家庭とかよく伺うので、そんなお金があったら他のことに使ってほしいっていうのが私のすごく一番思うところ。
A recent telephone poll by Japan's Kyodo news agency found 56% of Japan's public opposed Abe's state funeral, with 42.5% accepting it. Dignitaries from across the globe, including Taiwan, are expected to attend. Security arrangements have led to expenses ballooning to 6 times the initial estimate. But along with the cost, there are concerns a state funeral could mythologize a leader whose defense and economic record was highly contentious.
Inside Japan, he's known much more for sort of his right-leaning, conservative, sort of hard-right politics. I think the point is that a state funeral should probably be reserved for a consensus figure who is, respected by almost all sides, and Shinzo Abe was not that.
But there is another unexpected source of controversy. Alleged links between Abe's former party, the LDP, and the Unification Church, most famous for their mass weddings. The religious group was founded by the late Korean Messiah claimant Moon Sung-myeon. Donations from his followers, colloquially known as Moonies, allowed him to create a vast business and religious empire. But Abe's suspected killer said his mother was bankrupted by such donations. He told police he targeted Abe over his alleged links to the church and claimed he promoted it in Japan. The current Prime Minister Fumio Kishida issued an apology over allegations of his party's connections to the religious group.
世論調査等で支持率が下がっていることについては、先ほど申し上げたように旧統一教会の問題、国葬儀の問題などがあり、その中で国の信頼が政治の信頼が揺らぎつつある。こうしたことが大きいのだと思っています。
Japanese officials cited Abe's popularity overseas as justification for the state service. In Taiwan, his death prompted widespread public grief, with many lauding the former leader's support of warmer ties between Taipei and Tokyo. But in Japan, that too is another source of discord.
I could see certainly from the point of view of Taiwan, which would be very appreciative if Japan says that we'll help defend Taiwan in the case of a military conflict with mainland China. That doesn't necessarily go down so well in Japan, where a lot of people are like, well, you're kind of inviting a foreign danger.
Controversy over the state funeral reveals a marked difference in domestic and overseas perceptions of Abe. Evidence that even in death, the debate over his legacy continues. Clyde Wang and James Chater for TaiwanPlus.
A powerful typhoon that swept past Taiwan earlier this week has killed at least 6 people and triggered flooding in South Korea. Typhoon Hinnamnor has now been downgraded to a tropical storm, but as Louise Watt reports, residents are still dealing with its aftermath.
The most powerful typhoon to hit South Korea in years. This is Busan, a large port city known for its beaches. But on Tuesday they were empty as waves crashed on shore and flooded roads. Typhoon Hinnamnor dumped almost a meter of rain on the country, flooding roads and flattening trees. Thousands of people had to be evacuated, with Marines helping with the rescue efforts. In the southeastern city of Pohang, at least 5 people were killed. 1 was swept away by strong currents. But officials say that the death toll could have been higher if people hadn't followed warnings to prepare.
뭐 막는 거라든가 예를 들어서 모래찜이라든가 준비를 지금 저기 하고 있어요. 내놓고 많이 올 것 같으면 빨리 대비를 해서 지난번보다는 피해를 입고 싶지 않아요. 피해를 많이 입어놨습니다.
After hitting South Korea, Hinnamnor weakened to a tropical storm, but it's left behind a trail of destruction and thousands of people picking up the pieces. Asnaya Zhou and Louise Watt for TaiwanPlus.
Efforts are underway to have Matsu's Daqiu Island certified as an international dark sky park. That means receiving a distinction for the quality of its starry night skies, Bing Wang reports.
During the day, many Taiwanese tourists go to Matsu's Daqiu Islands to see a sika deer. But at night, the island transforms into an excellent spot for stargazing. Taiwan's Dark Sky Association is attempting to get Daqiu certified as an international dark sky park, which means it has an exceptional night sky and nocturnal environment. But they must meet some standards first. Most important is the quality of the night sky.
好，我们现在的数值呢是20点出头哈，那距离安丰公园的平均标准21.2还是有一段距离。
Also, between the months of June and October, the night sky is marred by green lights flashing from Chinese fishing vessels.
现在云层很低，所以呢，对岸的陆基的或者是渔船的光线呢，会经过这个云层的反射，这个叫散射，好，或者是辉光这样过来，影响到我们现在这个观测点。
Lights from nearby islands also have an impact.
那比如说我们岛上的路灯，它村子里面晚上产生的一些光源，它一样会在水汽比较稍微旺盛的时候，透过云气的这样子的一个水分子的一个漫射，反射到我们大邱岛上。
The nearby islands are working towards lowering the light pollution. Members of the Taiwan Dark Sky Association visit the island every month to assess the quality of the sky. They hope to receive certification as an international dark sky park soon. Patrick Chen and Bing Wang for TaiwanPlus.
Mid-Autumn Festival is just round the corner, a time when the moon is the roundest and brightest. It's celebrated according to the lunar calendar in many parts of Asia, and there is one traditional dessert that the festival won't be complete without. Sandy Chi takes us to a local bakery in Taipei, where the queues are growing around the block.
I'm here in Taipei at a very famous local bakery. It's almost Mid-Autumn Festival, and the shop has been here for more than 100 years. As you can see, the queue is massive. Let's take a look at why they are here. Now, this lady next to me has been here for almost 2 hours. Hi there, can you tell me what is so special about these mooncakes and what are you here for?
因为我是要带伴手礼出国送朋友，然后离记是老店，所以我之前也是常吃他们的凤梨酥啊，或者是月饼类的，所以我很喜欢。那我明天要出国了，所以我今天赶快过来排队。
The queues here stretch more than 2 blocks down the road. The bakery says their mooncakes are so in demand, the shop allows customers to pre-order 2 months in advance.
So when customer is lining up, our factory is like busy with hundreds of people making mooncakes. So we just keep making it and keep selling it. This brand is founded in 1894, so it's been a long time. So we are very well experienced on making traditional Chinese mooncake. And it has to be made by handmade. You cannot make it by machine. It's going to be taste different, yeah. And the ingredients inside, it's from Taiwan local agriculture.
Mooncakes are a traditional Chinese dessert for the Mid-Autumn Festival. The roundness represents completeness and reunion for the whole family.
我们一旦过中秋节，就一定要赏月、吃月饼、吃柚子。那以我们身为这个台北人，我们就会希望说，以台北最知名的一个月饼，就是以梨记为最有名，所以我们每年都会来排这个梨记的月饼。
There are a lot of different kinds of mooncakes, but traditionally they are made with a bean paste and surrounding a duck egg yolk in the middle, which represents the moon.
以往我们都会烤肉嘛，所以说中秋节我们今年就比较提早过，然后家庭的聚餐，然后团圆，然后赏月的话，我们就到大雪山去赏月了。
Usually people come out to see the moon during this festival. However, this year will be difficult because of the cloudy weather. But at least they will still have their mooncakes. Kamashu and Sandy Chi in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. Finally, we leave you with images of the Beach Wrestling World Championship in Constanta, Romania. Over 120 athletes from 19 nations took part in the competition. For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, please download the TaiwanPlus app. Stay safe and see you next time.